All right, everyone, we do appreciate your patience. I tell you what, we just had to get everything lined up. You know how it is sometimes that technology doesn't quite cooperate the way you want it to, but we are up and running. And so, again, appreciate your patience. And we get to hear from three gentlemen whom you heard from not that long ago, just the latter part of last year: Jabari Price, Michael Holloman, and Gerald Droz, Gerard Droz. And I'm telling you what, I have shared with you all that the book that they have out is truly an awesome book. You talk about making a truth plain. They have done that. Mr. Price, Mr. Holloman, Mr. Droz, how are you three doing today?
Doing wonderful today.
Doing good. Doing good.
I tell you what, it is great that we're going to have more time to spend with each other as we talk about something that is definitely near and dear to your hearts as well as to mine, and I think to a lot of people. And the title of your book says it all: The Makings of a Man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And one of the things I've got to ask you, what prompted this project, this book, The Makings of a Man?
Okay. Well, really, it's an effort from lunch conversations that we all used to have when we all worked together. During those lunch conversations, we often talked about topics of manhood, whether it be something going on in our personal lives, something we saw in the news, or what's going on in the current events, and we kind of discussed it. We come to find out that even though we all had three different backgrounds, our ideals about manhood were all very similar, or if not even exactly the same. So based on that, we kind of felt that because there was so much turmoil going on about what manhood was and the confusion about it, we decided we needed to put it down and clarify a few things.
And you did an outstanding job of that, too. I mean, a lot of the information, for one thing, is so easy to understand, yet there are a lot of complex concepts in here that you all have broken down that make it something that I certainly say is definitely a must read, because you really break down some concepts, some myths, if you will, about boyhood and manhood and that transition. And so we're going to be looking at that. But before we do, I'd like for us to take a few minutes to delve into something a little bit more that you just referred to, and that is the different backgrounds that each of you come from, because I think that makes the project so much more fascinating. So just start wherever you want with whichever one you want to start with, and each of you just share with us something about your background and how you see it, just briefly, as relating to this mission of clarifying manhood.
Okay. I'll start off with myself. I'm Michael Holloman. I was raised in a single-parent home, single parent being my mother. Because of that handicap, I really didn't have any strong male figure in the home. Based on that, I actually had to take time to seek out what manhood was about, because, of course, there was nobody directly there for me to look up to. Because of that experience, I was able to go out into the world, see what was good about man, and see what was bad about man. I guess because of what my mother instilled in me about doing the right thing and being a better person, I found out what was good in people versus what was bad, and took the good things and started to apply that to my life and learned about what manhood was about based that way. And
you had to go out and as you said, seek out what manhood was about. Where specifically, or to whom specifically, did you go as you conducted your search?
Okay, well, naturally, my mother was an avid churchgoer. So I attended church with her oftentimes when I was younger. In church, you obviously, because men are high character there, you get around people who are high character, and you can always tell who the real men were in the church because of the respect they garnered. Whenever you were a young man and you kind of searching out and you seeking, whenever you do see a man who is truly a man, it kind of makes your back stiffen a little bit, so to say, and you take notice of how they are and how they act. So you start to look at them a little closer about how they respond to people, how they act, how they talk, how they deal with people. Outside of the church, also as I grew up, like I said, my mother was an avid churchgoer. Because she was an avid churchgoer, as I got older, I stopped being an avid churchgoer like herself and started being an avid streetgoer. And being an avid streetgoer, you get to see all the ills of what manhood was about. And oftentimes, I would be in a juxtaposition because I can see the bad in men, yet they still garner respect in the streets. but it wasn't based on good character or good morals. It was just based on fear. So I had to be able to decipher what was good and what was bad about the things I saw out in the street in the world. And as I continued to grow older, when I got into my early 20s, I got into a group where basically men were just teaching boys how to be men, almost like a mentorship program.
Interesting. So when you started your search, you started out in the church, eventually began to take your search to the streets. When you first started out, how old were you? And related to that, was that a scary proposition for you, or were you pretty comfortable about conducting that search to find the truth about manhood?
I say around the age of 8 or 9 is when my father was there for a little while. He wasn't a big figure in the home. He was there. That's about the age of 8 or 9 is when he left the family.
Uh-huh.
Around that time, because of the void there, of course, like any other young man who loses the male figure that I looked up to, there was definitely a void, and I needed to fill that void. Luckily for me, because my mother was a heavy churchgoer, I was able to fill some of that void in the church. But as you grow older, you start to get your own mind. You want to do your own thing. That's when I began to. I'm not gonna say I was seeking out manhood within the streets, but I was more like seeking out myself on my own terms. Mm-hmm. And through that self-search, that's when I realized that, hold up, there are some good things and some bad things going on out here, and I need to be able to decipher what's good and what's bad. The issue was I didn't know how to take that journey because I had no one guiding me along the way. And through that recognition, I started to seek out people who could help me. And just knowing that the best thing to do is to find somebody you want to be like, I started searching for a group of men that would kind of the way that I wanted to be. Had the right character, had the right ideals about what I thought manhood was about, and began to sit down and have discussions with them about manhood.
Awesome. Michael Holloman giving us his background, laying a foundation of what even led to the beginnings of his search. And we're seeing a tale of two cities here. He's in the church, he's in the street, he's making comparisons and drawing conclusions. When we come back, we're going to get the background on Jabari Price and Gerard Rose, because we want to kind of lay the foundation about this whole thing about manhood and let you get to know a little bit more about these gentlemen who are going to be talking with us about that transition from boyhood to manhood. You're listening to Speaking with Carl Thornton Jr. We're speaking with the true board of directors from the book, The Makings of a Man. We'll be right back. Now, I've given everyone out there in the Speaking With community the name of the group. Have you figured out the name of the song? I know it's been a while. I don't want to give it to you yet because it really has to do with what the true board of directors and I are talking about, the makings of a man. And in a way that you may not initially think about it, but there is a connection there. I'll be telling you the title of the song before we leave. In fact, I'll probably take it to you, let you know what that is just before the second break. Any of you recognize that, by the way? Did you hear enough of it? Let me give you a little bit more of it. Hey, Speaking with community, this is the True Board of Directors Pop Quiz. Name that song.
Is that Mr. Magic?
No, not Mr. Magic. But it was around that time, though. I give you all the same clue that I gave to the Speaking with community. The group is MFSB, and I'll give you one more clue. It's the same group that did The Sounds of Philadelphia. In fact, the theme song to the dance show Soul Train. All right, I'll let y'all think about that, though. And we'll come back to it before we leave. I was thinking now, I know I got these guys at a disadvantage because I'm taking you all back a minute here. But we gonna get to that. So we got, though, in the meantime, a great start to laying this foundation. And of course, a lot of you in the Speaking with community know that I really do like to kind of lay that foundation, give you a chance to get to know a little bit better who our guests are. And that way you can just connect a little bit more intimately with what they're sharing with us. So we got the background from Mr. Michael Holloman and how he got started on this quest, this search for manhood. And I want to say that, this isn't something that should be taken lightly, simply because not everyone, it is not a given that every male is going to truly try to discover the true meaning of real manhood. Some folks just go along just living. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about a male or a female, just live from day to day, from year to year, from decade to decade, and never really search out what womanhood is really about. In our case, for today's discussion, what manhood is really about. And so we're having this discussion about what launched them onto this journey, this search. And I guess the next person we'll go with will be Jabari Price. What got you started on it?
Okay. Well, I'm a little similar to Mike. I grew up in a single-parent household, but my situation's a little different. I initially started out with two parents, but my mother unfortunately died of cancer when I was 14 years old. So from there on, I was basically, raised in a single-parent household, except, my single parent was my dad. And it was a different situation. I had to basically rely on him for everything. And even though a man is very important, in a young child's life or in a young male's life, a woman's also important as well. I think, sometimes your mother has a lot to do with you growing up to be a man as well. But of course, in my situation, I only had my father.
All right. Now you mentioned that, and we have two gentlemen so far who were essentially raised in a single parent home. Of course, I say essentially because with you, Jabari, that single parent status really started at age 14. So you were at least halfway through your childhood by the time you were in a single parent. But this question that I want to ask, I would say still applies to both of you. And I want to ask each of you right now, the two of you right now, for your input on this. And then we'll hear what Gerard Rose has to say about the same thing after he shares with us his background. Here's my question. From your perspective, a twofold question. Can one parent actually be both parents? Can a mother be a mother and a father? Can a father be a father and a mother? And the second part of that, is it even desirable that one parent, a single parent, try to be both parents?
Well, I think it's not really desirable. I mean, you would want both parents there, but of course, if you have two responsible parents, it's much easier to raise a child. But I do think that one parent can be, sufficient if that person has a very strong personality. In a lot of cases, that's not always the case. We would want there to be two parents in the household, and we feel that that's the reason why there's a lot of strife and problems in our society today.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And this is Michael. Going along with what Jabari was saying, like you said, it's not a desirable thing to have. Can one parent be both? My answer to that would be no. A father is a father for a reason. A mother is a mother for a reason. When the father's not there, you are missing something. Mother can step in and fill in as best she can, but some of the life experiences she just don't experience. As being a man, that she can help you get through.
Mm-hmm. And so I kind of think that probably, if we were to look at it from a different angle, if a person were raised like my father, who was raised with his maternal aunt and uncle, because he lost his mother. He never knew his father, and his mother died as soon as she gave birth to the second twin. My father was a twin, and as soon as the second twin was born, their mother died, and her brother and his wife took them in and raised them. And I'm saying that to say this, if we look at it from a different angle, and maybe an aunt and uncle is raising the kids. Can an uncle be an uncle and an aunt, or is he just the uncle? If the aunt is raising it along with with her husband, and for whatever reason he dies, he's no longer there. Can that aunt be the aunt and the uncle, or is she just the aunt? And as you said, Michael, just doing the best she can as the aunt. And I think that well, I'll share with you what my idea about that is a little later on. First, let's continue with our laying of the foundation, the groundwork, as we hear about the whole thing, this whole issue of the search for manhood, what it's really about, what launched you into this particular search, this particular journey, Gerard Rose.
Yes, sir. Fortunately, I was brought up in a household where I had both parents. Not only were they both there, but they were both very active in my life. And like Michael, we were avid churchgoers. So not only did I have my father as an example in my life, but I also had other upstanding men in the community, such as in the church, to actually look up to and to learn and see different things from also, and to kind of study, if you will, as to what it actually took to become a man. Like Mike, eventually I got to a point where I kind of trailed off from following with the examples and the things that I saw in the home with my father and the good leadership in the church, and began to try to make some decisions on my own, following things that maybe have been the best thing for me. But through it all, I think now the age that I've reached and the place where I've reached in my life, I can actually look back on those things and judge them better. And I think I can become a better man today based on both those bad and good examples. Now that I know which to follow.
I'll tell you what, sometimes journeys can bring about just a mix of emotions, different types of thoughts that come to our mind as we embark on the journey. I want to pursue that. I want us to broach that when we come back. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Jabari Price, Michael Holloman, and Gerard Rose from the book, The Makings of a Man. And I'm pretty sure that there were a number of you who heard yourself somewhere in those three accounts that we've heard just in that short period of time. Stay with us. We'll be right back for more of The Makings of a Man. Definitely appreciate you all for being with us again, The Makings of a Man. And, something about this, too, that is, I think, so helpful. I can't help, I've been asking the Speaking with community for about a couple of weeks or so now. Since, I knew that we were going to be speaking today, one of the questions, how does a boy transition into manhood? Is it something that happens simply because he reaches a certain age and that magical number transitions him immediately into manhood? Or is there a rite of passage he has to go through? And as I think about rites of passage, I can't help but think about the numerous cultures that do have rites of passage that really, really help to serve to kind of define when a male has passed from boyhood to manhood. That said, though, I think that, one of the things that happens is it's a community affair. It's a situation whether you're talking about the Jewish community or any number of tribes or nations across the continent of Africa, any of the groups that are out in the Amazon area, so many groups where once it is time for the child to become a woman, the boy to become a man, the girl to become a woman, the boy to become a man, there's something that involves the family and to a great extent, the entire community. And so everyone is buying into the fact that this transition is necessary and now is the time. Now, I'm saying that to ask this whole thing of helping a boy transition into manhood in America, does that seem to be something that involves a group, or does it seem to be something that for the most part involves just the individual and maybe one or two other people?
Well, I think that primarily it's going to be a group of people. And I say that because, for just my personal experience, yes, I had my father in the home, and he was a great example for me. I know I wouldn't be where I am today without him. But I think that there are certain things you can pick up from other people in the community that may not necessarily come from just that one parent in the home, whether you grew up in a single parent home or whether you had both parents. I think there are examples that you can garner from people outside of your home that can also be beneficial to you. And I really don't see it as being just a responsibility of one person. And really, that's kind of like one of the main things that we are trying to accomplish as the three of us together is saying that, we understand that there may be someone out there not only that doesn't have a good example, but there's someone out there that may need more examples. And they may need someone to talk to that they can't say things about they can't talk about with their father or with their uncle or whatnot. So we're really trying to be part of that larger community that is available for the young men to draw from.
Yes, sir. And we also make mention in the book also about we call it the chapter checks and balances, where you're influenced by the people that you hang around. Normally, those large groups influence how you become and how you grow up. And so, like Gerard was saying, there's a larger group that's always looming around. The larger group being your friends or your family. The people that you spend the most time with are the people that put the biggest influences on you.
Now that said, how would you all define and or describe manhood?
Well, I think it's primarily the fact that you are carrying your weight. We discuss in the book the factors that or the things that a man has to be responsible for, such as leadership, for being a grower, a visionary, a servant, things of that sort. And I really think that once you're handling those things the way they should be and you're taking responsibility and ownership of them, that's when you begin to actually develop yourself as a man.
You say that. I know that one of the things that you all share is that manhood consists more of decisions and actions than physical appearance and material wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what prompted the discussion of that?
Well, in the book, we try to define manhood as character more so than what you have or what you own or what you look like. It's based on who you are as a person. Manhood is deeper than just like the definition of a male or just a set of attributes that you might have. I mean, you have to be a large host of things to officially be called a man.
Yes, sir. Because at the end of the day, if you're looking at manhood as being about your physical characteristics, if you break a leg, you can no longer work out. So does that make you not a man? If you lose your job and all of a sudden you were a millionaire and now you're worth $100, does that make you not a man? The answer to that is no, because it's based on your character. It's not based on the physical things that society has shown us what manhood to be about. It's about what's inside of you and how you're able to use that to help other people and to help yourself become better.
And one of the things that you all list is, I'm sorry, was someone getting ready? Okay. One of the things that I noticed that you all really focus on when it comes to character is the importance of servitude.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, servant leadership is major because we really believe that if you want to lead someone, you can't just stand and point the direction. You have to be willing to help them to get to where they need to be. And you can do that not only by giving advice and pointing and saying, here's where you need to go, but actually taking there physically. And you can't do that really without being a servant.
Now, gentlemen, we're talking about transitioning from boyhood to manhood. And, of course, we know that one of the things that, well, I'm assuming most women want in a husband is a male who is a man and not just someone who has reached he is a man based on his character, who he is as a person, and not just someone who has reached a certain age. It says, well, I can go fight in the war now, I can do this, I can do that legally. They're looking at who he is on the inside. And that said, one of the things that you all share, and I think this is just phenomenal, I think this is something that I think a lot of the women will be encouraged by when I say this. You share that even though a man may not possess tremendous sexual prowess, he should know that sex alone does not build a healthy relationship with a woman. But to truly build a life with a woman requires something else. What is that something else, and why is that important?
Well, I think that in order to build a healthy relationship with a woman, I mean, you have to take time to know her and learn her. and like we were saying in the book, it's not just sexual prowess that keeps somebody happy, because as time goes on, you're going to become less attractive. She's going to become less attractive. I mean, really. So after a while, I mean, if your entire relationship is built on physical attraction, that's not going to stand the test of time. So that's why you have to really love your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, and know her from the inside out.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know about Jabari, but I plan on getting better with age. Definitely, one of the things we highlight also, we have a chapter of communication where you have to not only be able to convey what it is that you feel for this other person or the emotions you have for them, but you need to be able to understand them, and when they are able to convey that information back to you, to react appropriately. So yeah, definitely, it's more than whatever you can do physically, but there's also intangible things like listening and knowing how to actually communicate or convey what you feel to that other person to make that relationship last.
That's awesome. I tell you what, you all are taking us closer and closer to the point where I'm about to share with them, not just this second, but I mean, we're getting close where I'm going to share with everybody the title of this song. Now, that said, remember what these three men have been sharing with us already. They talked about who they were looking to get their answer as to what manhood is about. They're sharing with us now what manhood means to a wife. All right, we're getting close now. The group is MFSB. Our guests are the True Board of Directors, Jabari Price, Michael Holloman, Gerard Droz. We're talking about the makings of a man. What would you say might be a key ingredient to making a man, to becoming a man, to being the man that people around you would want you to be, especially your wife or your child? We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know some of you are recognizing the song. You just probably never really knew the name of the song. I'm going to tell you now what the title of the song is. Again, it's by MFSB, taking you back a little ways, I know. The title of the song is Love is the Message. And I thought that might be a suitable song because it has so much to do with what it takes to really put your heart and soul into helping a boy become a man. Whether you are the uncle, father, churchgoer, mother, aunt, doesn't matter. If you're participating in the life of that child, the motivating factor above all others should be love. Love is the message. And I tell you what, in a lot of ways, that's really one of the things that you all are really getting across this. I mean, I can just imagine if a woman feels like, if she's convinced, as you all say in the book, that this man really is in tune with the woman's feelings and tendencies and wants, how can she help but be convinced that the man truly cares about her, that he truly loves her? If it's all about sex, I mean, if it all begins and ends with sex, what happens when, for whatever the reason, sex is not what it once was? What do you have left?
How about that?
But if we start and end with love, something that motivates us to really get to know each other so much better, to who the real person is. Starting with myself, who am I really? Who is she really? Who is he really? That can go so far towards helping us be what we should be in the relationship with the other as well as in the relationship with ourselves. You talked about leadership. What makes that significant? How does a person know that they're really involved in leadership, and why is that important?
Well, in manhood, I guess we always say probably the best definition of leadership is influence. So if you're influencing people, when you turn around, you'll see people following you. Why it's significant in manhood? We kind of feel like, we don't feel like we know because we are Christians, and that's what our beliefs lie. That man is the head of the household. In order to be the head, you got to know how to lead. Leading is not always necessarily meaning that you tell somebody what to do and they go do it. It's about knowing the right attributes knowing that, well, I'm not the best person for this decision. Let my wife be here. I'm not the best person for this decision. Let my brother make this decision here. It's all about knowing the right things at the right time. That's what leadership is about.
Wow, that is heavy duty. I mean, because when you said, I'm not the best person to make this particular decision, I better let my wife make this one. And that is so key. And I think that in order for that to work well for husband and wife, one of the things that needs to happen is, just like you said, the man needs to be willing to admit to himself, no, my wife has a better idea on this one. We're going to go with what she has said. And then at the same time, to make that easy to become part of the couple's lifestyle, then the woman needs to be able to say, you know what, I really appreciate my husband for valuing my intelligence and allowing me to be a decision maker along with him for the benefit of this household, as opposed to, becoming a bit arrogant and beginning to exalt herself above her husband, which would serve to just simply bring confusion into the equation. The husband needs to acknowledge that he is not the only one capable of making decisions. And at the same time, the woman needs to be humble by saying, you know what? This isn't an opportunity for me to gloat. This is an opportunity for me to appreciate.
Exactly. And something I think I'd like to add to what you're just saying, I think that when you're in a position of leadership, that doesn't mean that the people that you're leading necessarily work for you. I think it's important as a leader that you understand that the people that you're leading work with you. And you don't put yourself above them. You put yourself down there with them to help them get through the things that you all are trying to get through. When you treat them, people, as equals, and you understand that you lead them by serving them and serving with them, that your leadership is more effective that way.
Absolutely.
And then they feel like they're working with someone who's not looking down on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's not as difficult to help them feel good about what the organization is doing, whether that organization is a household, a business, a ministry, whatever it might be. Easier for folks to feel good about what's happening.
Yeah, people want to feel a part of.
That's critical.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we said, it's all about community. So you're not in it alone. You're always there with somebody. So if you're not showing support for the community and being part of the community, then you can't lead them.
And one of the things that it seems like is happening, if you're not a part of, then of course that means folks are feeling alienated.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel alienated, of course, there's distance. And the greater the distance, the harder it is to truly work together as part of a team. So I tell you what, just some powerful, powerful truths that you all are sharing with us. I'd like for you to touch on for a few minutes with us something else that you all mentioned in the book, and that is the importance of consistency.
Absolutely. Consistency is all about being that same person all the time, whether you are alone or around a group of people that know you very well. It's all about being the same person at all times. That's how you build trust. That's how you build trust in yourself and trust in other people about who you are and what you're about.
And it also it's important to be consistent because you don't want to be a certain way around some people and another way around others, and then when those people, a group of people, communicate with each other, they're like, well, he told me this or he told me that. If you're consistent across the board, then everybody knows that you're a man of your word, and you're always going to be, a good person.
I tell you what, and consistency, that is so important, that they know who you are, because it can be so confusing if you're sending one message today about who you are, next week you're sending out a different message about who you are, then rightfully someone can ask, well, who are you really?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
And how do they?
You lose trust that way.
Yeah, you lose trust. And once trust is lost, it can be very, very difficult to regain. Hard to lose it and hard to get it back.
Makes your leadership that much more difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. The Makings of a Man. That's the title of the book. I really appreciate all three of you for being with me today. How can people get your book?
You can get it online through our website, which is www.themakingsofaman.com. You can purchase the hard copy book there from our website. There are also links on our website that take you directly to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, where you can actually get our ebook if you have a e-reader. The hard copy book is $15. The ebook is $10.
Excellent, excellent. And you are available to meet with people, hold conferences, and talk about a lot of this in depth, face to face.
Yes, sir. We can be contacted for those type of things at our email address, which is trueboardofdirectors@gmail.com. We can also be reached by phone at 803-386-9660.
Outstanding. Could you give that phone number one more time?
Sure. It's 803-386-9660.
Outstanding. Again, Jabari Price, Michael Holloman, and Gerard Droz. Thanks to each one of you for joining me today, speaking with us about the makings of a man.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you, man.
Quite welcome. And you all stay with me, speaking with community. I'll be right back.